recapping what it was that we did yesterday with the problem. So yesterday we came up with what seemed to be, at the end of the hour, a group consensus as far as how many handshakes actually occurred. It really did seem like you guys agreed. What was our magic number that we agreed on? 380 was what we went around. We said that really think 380 is correct. We feel pretty strongly about that. What I want you to do for a second is just take a minute to talk with your group. Somebody had the table that you turned in yesterday. I want you to copy down in this table the number of handshakes for 2 through 8 people. So you should have it somewhere on separate graph paper for the total number that we were writing down for both the beginning and end of the meeting. So your final table, as if 2 people shook hands at the beginning and the end, and 3 people shook hands at the beginning and the end. He wants to fill that in with this. Yep, I want you to fill it in. You should already have that information. Yeah, we have I have my table filled in. Please verify that we agreed on those smaller numbers too. I know we all agreed which question number 1, if you didn't notice yet, says how many do you guess will take place if 20 people attend. I wrote that 380 up there. You can too. But we should then agree on the smaller numbers as well. Take a quick glance. Are these the numbers you had as well? Yes. I stole these from one group. So we all agree even on the smaller numbers. We had 3 or 4 different ways, I'd say, as far as how people actually figured out the number total. So our job now, if you take a look, is to start thinking about how different representations of this data help us. So different representations of this data will help us at different times. We have a table right now. Our job is to make a scatter plot, it says. But we've already kind of done that. One person in our group already sort of made a graph of what this would look like. It says enter the data from the table into a spreadsheet, make a scatter plot. Now what is their goal? It says write a model for your data. Verify why it fits the data. Record your function. When I say a model or a function, another word for that is equation. Why might an equation be handy when we have a single piece of data, and I ask you about 20 people, for example? What would an equation allow us to do? Why in math do we stress the writing of equations?
So that you can find out.
Find what?
The answer?
Okay, we already found the answer to 20 people, though. And we can have an equation faster. What would we be solving faster? Well, we already know the answer for 20 people. What would an equation allow me to do? Is it 7 or 5? 7. I only have, wait, no, I forgot which one I only have. Maybe I only have 7.
7 what?
I only have 5.
Well,
sorry.
Kristen.
Oh, sure.
there's a tough friend if you don't find the number that we want to know, we don't know, like, so it's not 20 is, we don't have 30 is, so.
I think I only have 0.5.
Find out 30 is. Now we can plug into how many percent.
Yeah, what was our, we had basically 2 different methods that I saw. One of the ways I saw you guys do it was by adding, you said subtract 1, so if we were on line 8, I would add up all the numbers 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Add them up, and I should get my total. Another way I saw you say was to take the number I was on and then multiply that number times one number below it. But Kristen's saying, if we know 20, what if I told you now to find the number of handshakes for 30? What would you do?
Put it in the equation.
Well, we don't have an equation.
We gotta make it.
If we made an equation, it would be faster. Now, if I did say 30, could you figure it out right now without an equation?
Yeah.
What would you do, Chandler?
29 times 30.
29 times 30. Can somebody else tell me another way they could do it? Think of what you did yesterday. Only a couple groups did that 29 times 30 way.
I see like lines.
What was another way we did yesterday?
The way I did it, but I don't know how you explain it better.
You could minus 1 plus minus like 20 minus 19 plus 18 plus 17 plus.
So if I was on 30, if 30 was the number of...
All right. 29 plus 28 plus 27 plus 26 plus 20.
It is a lot of numbers. And so what we're saying is, with an equation, Kristen's saying we could get there even faster. We'd be doing the same kind of math. Now, Chandler's math is not that hard. 29 times 30, that's pretty simple. How would we express that to somebody, though? How would we tell them to do what he's doing? Think about equations. Equations are supposed to tell you with a letter, where you're supposed to be able to plug a letter or a number in for a letter, and then you're supposed to do the math and get the answer, meaning you need to come up with an equation for me that if I put the number 30 in for the letter, I would solve and I would get the final answer. If I put 20 in, I would solve and I'd get 380. If I put 8 in, I would solve and I would get 56. So you want to be able to come up with a way to tell me what to do. Either to tell me to add up all the numbers that are below it, or to tell me to multiply that times the number below it. But you have to tell me it with a letter, because then that will tell me where to put the number in each time. So what I'd like you to do is to talk with your group about what that would look like. I want you to try to come up with an equation. So when I say equation, an equation would be like x plus 1. If x plus 1 was the equation, that would mean plug in the number that I was on and just add 1 to it, and that would tell me what the answer is. So if the answer was x plus 1, putting 8 in, I should get 56. 8 plus 1 is not 56, so it's not x plus 1. What is the equation, though? I want you to talk in your group. I want to tell it to your group and convince them you're right. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. I'd love to hear what we've come up with. So, we're going to start over here. We're going to buzz around the room. I want to hear your equations, even if they don't look like what other people say. We want to see if they work. So, your guys' group, Jeffrey, what'd you guys say?
X squared minus X.
Okay, behind us.
I don't have a calculator.
What you guys? You have the exact same thing? Okay. Girls in the back, do you have something different? You said A. Like that? Okay. In the middle.
We got y equals x, and then parentheses x, or times x,
Okay. Up here. Girls have something different? Okay.
We have the same as the second one.
Same as the second one? You have the first one?
X equals 8 times B.
Okay. So we've got 4 different options up here.
I think that second one looks better.
Yes. You like yours? Okay.
I like mine. I like mine.
You like yours?
No I and D.
What?
I would imagine
I'll show you.
x equals AB. Yes. I think that would be a good idea. So, in terms of us trying to pick the best one, or the one that we'd want to say to somebody, let's talk about how we would use these. So, Olivia, your group over here used this one, and then a couple other groups agreed on this, so it doesn't matter to me which of these groups speak up, but somebody who's using this one, how do you use it to find an answer? So, for example, if I give you a line number, how do I use that first equation to get the answer for that line? Jeffrey?
Fill in the blanks. Like, you got 8, right? So you put 8 in for X. It would be 8 squared minus 8.
And that would give me my final answer.
8 squared would be 64 minus 8.
Okay?
Equals 56.
Okay. And that should work every time. Thank you. Somebody who used the second one and really likes the second one, talk to me about how I would use that one.
If you write A's like that, it's like right there.
Rebecca, would you mind speaking on yours? Like, how does it work? How do I know what to do? If I said line 8, for example, what would it tell me to do?
It would tell you do 8 times 8 minus 20. So you have to minus 1 from 8. And then in parentheses, then you times 8 by 7.
So that would get me my final answer. And I could do that for any number. I just put the 8 in for both x's and I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Okay? How about the third one? Read. Girls in the back. How does the third one work?
I'm going to say,
How it works.
if you do 7 times 8, it's always equal to 56.
7 times 8, it would give me 56. So how does this equation right here help me with that? Where do I put the 8 in the equation? It's all right. You want to talk to your group for a minute? Okay, talk to your group for a minute. We'll look at the last one. So Chandler, your group had the last one. How do I use it? Where does the 8 go?
The 8, is that what we're trying to figure out?
If we were trying to do line 8, for example, how would we use your equation to get an answer?
Okay, it would be 8 equals B and 7 equals A plus 7 times 8 equals 5.
How do I know? How do I know where to put the 8 and what goes in for the other letter on yours?
Well, the 8 would be the last one, B, and then the number before that would be A.
So when I give you a number like 52, if I said I want you to use this equation x equals a times b, and I said find me line 52, you would tell me I put the 52 where?
And the B.
Okay. And then what do I do after that?
Then you put in the 51, you put in 51 for the A, then you times them, and that equals X, which I had no clue.
I don't either, but that would get us an answer, you're saying. Thoughts, Kristen?
Does it matter? Where 51 goes, 52 goes, you put 52 in A.
Isn't that like that whole ABC type thing you got kicking there?
Okay.
Okay, so one goes in for one and one goes in for the other. Okay, so here's my question. I see one major difference between the bottom two and the top two.
The variables.
What about the variables specifically? Other than the fact that they use different letters,
They're all mixed up.
I see a really big difference. Yes, Seth?
On the top two, they're using the one number. On the bottom two, they're using 2 different.
Okay. So when I tell you to find me line 8, in the top two, there's only one spot you can put an 8. You put it in for x. I mean, it might get put in twice, but there's one variable that you put it in for.
You get the one.
With the bottom two, when we say it, yes, we said it doesn't matter which spot you put it in for, but
What if you don't know that 56 is your handshake?
right, that's my only confusion on the last one is I don't know, like, how do you tell somebody to put in the number before it? I get that you're saying I'm going to put the A in, or the 8 in for A or B, but what I don't get is then how to know that the other one needs to be a 7. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense,
That's why the
Chandler?
top ones are better.
So I'm not saying it's better, but what, like, if we were going to use the bottom two, you'd have to somehow tell me that you need to use the other number so that we know that we're supposed to then subtract from the other number. So if we were going to use the bottom ones, I think we would need to specify that. We're going to go take the number, if that's going to go in for B, you need to tell me that A is really 1 less than B, or in other words, that. You need to tell me that so that I know that I'm going to have to subtract 1 from that. Does that make sense?
So why
It's too
would
much
you
work.
Make x when you could just say that x equals something and then just put it in there.
So when I say equation, yeah, you're right, it is more work. If you don't know the answer. So, which of these is best?
The top ones.
The top one.
That top one up there.
left.
Right. Yeah, I think
Right.
the first one.
Top right corner.
You guys are wrong. You're right. No one cares what
You're saying these two are better because they only use one letter, they just use it more than one time?
Yeah.
Meaning there's no question about where to put the answer, and now which out of those two is better? How are they different? How can we have two different answers to the same thing?
I feel like s-
I feel like that first one's wrong.
With the Y, X, see, the two are pretty much, to me, they are a lot of alike.
I want you to take 30 seconds right now and prove to me on paper that they are actually the same.
All right.
They're the same.
All right.
They are.
They are the same. Prove it to me.
Stop handwrites, boy.
All right, he's going to show us how he knows that these are the same. What is he doing right there?
I don't think he knows what he's doing.
It looks like he does. X times x is x squared. X times 1 is x. They're actually the same. They're
It's
just,
just
written
written
differently. So it means it doesn't matter which one we choose. Some of you might write the one on the left. Some of you might write the one on the right. You're really writing the same thing.
You're writing the same thing, it's just in a different.
On the left would be what we would call simplified. That's true.
Oh my god.
I mean, as far as saving time goes, I think saving time is kind of subjective because if I use the one on the left, I have to be as good as Olivia at squaring numbers and subtracting. On the right, the nice part about it is you don't have to square anything. So if we were dealing with really large numbers, like if I told you to find line 52, you'd have to do 52 squared and then subtract 52. Not a problem if you have a calculator.
But it's also going to be hard the other way too, because
You're, on the other way, you're going to have to do 52 times 51, and you're going to have to figure it out. So it's really just a matter of opinion. Which one's right? I'd say they're both right. They're both right. So I want you to take a minute, and depending on the model, you can pick whichever one you want. So you've got these two to pick from that we're saying are the best, and we decided they're the best because they only have one letter in them. It's not that the other two don't work, it's just that you have to do some more explaining if you were going to use this one over here, at least. I want you to pick one, write it down, and then I want you to actually try doing something a little different. You can talk to your neighbors about this. Number 4 says, explain why it makes sense, okay? I want you to use words to tell me what your equation does. Try a stab at it. I want to see what you guys come up with. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes. I want you to tell me what your equation does.